So we talked about energy levels, and we also talked about somehow energizing or less energizing spaces. I have now a series of questions that I will put together and I will let you answer. One is related to the idea of transparency. But is this a distraction? Can I really be focused when I see people passing by and looking inside? This also brings to another concept that we previously discussed, is the concept of affordance or semantic of the space. And so I leave you the floor, and I would like to know what you think about this.
Our brain constantly monitors the environment. And for example, my experience with the glass meeting, the transparent meeting rooms is that I have coaches most of the time, they connect from a meeting room.
Oh.
And I see that, the gaze wandering like every time a colleague passes.
Is he looking at me? Is he listening? Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's very powerful for our brain, the idea of watching, the situation of watching or being watched. So every time I'm talking with someone and I have eye connection, if someone else is there and is watching me, my brain is like a squirrel. I cannot avoid just someone is looking at me, and you don't notice it, but even if you don't move your gaze, your brain registered that. So, it depends, because in terms of emotions, the idea of being always under the chance that someone passes and watches you can be quite kind of stressful sometimes. And again, you may think, okay, if you are feeling that you are watched, you are more productive, because for sure your cortisol level is higher. For your health, or even for some kind of task, maybe it's not the case that everything is transparent.
Well, this has a lot to do with the idea of performance. Yeah. We always have to perform, and being watched doesn't help.
Yeah, and also for the affordance, the same idea. The shape of an object activates my motor area in brain. So if I see a cup, the affordance, the idea is that if I see a cup, I immediately imagine just put my hand in a way that I can take the cup.
And drink it.
And this happens all the time, and drink it. So everything is simulated by the brain 24 hours a day, every second. And so the objects I see and the human beings that I see or I do not see changes the way I focus. Open space, most of the time, they want to convey the idea that everything is open and the transparency of the company. But in terms of individuals, it depends. Sometimes you want to. Otherwise, bathrooms, for example, are decision center. If you look any Netflix series, or a lot of stuff happens in the bathrooms in companies. Why? Because it's something that is protected, and there is a sense of intimacy and so on.
Which type of spaces can somehow stimulate creativity? You mentioned creativity as well.
Yeah.
How can we stimulate creativity?
Well, one idea is, for example, that control. As human beings, we want to be protected but not controlled. You need to have a sense of control on your life, in your stuff, in order to feel good. The less sense of control I have on the environment, the more stressful is this. Not too much, because on the other side, there are also moments where I need to feel that I am controlled by someone else. The more I am infantilized, the more I feel like an infant, the more I want to be protected and controlled. But on the other opposite side, as an adult, I want to be able to perceive and to feel that I have control on my environment. This brings to me also to the idea of smart working. What I see right now with my coaches most of the time is that they fight to have more smart working, but in the sense that they want to come to the company less. But they are looking for smart working because they are looking for control. There is also the idea that if I can do remote work and smart work, there is more freedom. But there is no reason, because you cannot think of a workplace where freedom is more perceived.
We are free to play games. We are free to set out our objectives, but we are not free to choose where we want to work.
In terms of the control issue, I would like to have a place where I can change everything, even paint the walls, or something that I can customize for the time I'm there, for example. Doing art is powerful. For teams I think there is a very great book. It's called Software for Your Head, and there is this protocol that you can have with teams. It's called the core protocols, where one thing that energizes a team is doing art together, having a place where you can go and paint, having a place where you can just do art in somewhere, and it works because it's not pre-digested. You can go there and do whatever you want in terms of creation. But it's not about creativity, it's about freedom, about expressing, basically. So anything that can make you feel like you are free, in control, and able to express yourself works in terms of well-being.
You also mentioned something that intrigued me a lot, the idea of getting bored.
Boredom is wonderful if you leverage it. It's the way creation happens. So no one creates something because it's constantly energized. When you are bored and you cannot do anything except staying there, and you invent. I mean, because boredom calls for being fight. So you want to avoid boredom. But in trying to avoid boredom, you become creative. Boredom is an activation. I mean, it shouldn't be too easy to avoid boredom, but you should be able to act on boredom, which is not allowed in normal company. So you need to feel boredom and at the same time being allowed to act on it.
Seligman talks about PERMA model in terms of well-being. He created this idea of the PERMA model, which is quite powerful as well. Which emotion is actually positive and can encourage people in the, to be happier and to feel better at work?
I think the most basic and important is the emotion of being seen. So you can call it recognition, or you can call it acknowledgement, accomplishment, but it's different from being watched, being surveilled, being controlled. So, I mean, the meaning is the same, but what's very important is if I feel I am seen in a company, not by my boss, colleagues, and I know that I am seen, that's very powerful in terms of engagement, positive emotions, and sense of agency, and the ability of feeling empowered in doing our job. The idea is usually we think that when we say bravo, when we say good job to someone, this motivates that someone. The problem is when that someone fails, what do you say? You say, bad job, you suck. And the problem is this mechanism doesn't motivate a person. What motivates a person is, I am your coach, I am your boss, I am your co-worker. I see you. I see you when you fail, and I see you when you do good. If you have an environment that makes you feel being seen, that's powerful in terms of motivation and productivity.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciated your intervention, and thank you again.
Thank you.